Welcome to F1. It's now time for the important stuff. Time for qualifying here at the Malaysia Grand Prix. So, could be a tasty one today then, Ants. We've got all the ingredients, that's for sure. Treacherous conditions, an ever-changing racetrack, and one or two cars just behind the pace setters who maybe, just maybe, fancy a bit of an upset after a good performance from them in free practice.
And the question has to be, of course, what is that circuit going to look like in 10 to 15 minutes from now? If you think the rain's going to get worse, then you have to be straight out when the lights go green to find whatever grip you can. But if it eases off, then you're better off waiting, saving the tyres, and going out at the perfect moment. The other thing that comes with these conditions? Traffic, and the lack of visibility that comes from sitting in the spray. It's going to be a constant problem, and I expect to see a lot of frustrated drivers with ruined laps out there today.
What is up, guys, and welcome to a rainy Sepang here for the Malaysian Grand Prix on my Robert Kubica Career Mode on F1 2017 out on our banker lap here in Q1. It is chucking it down with rain, full wet tires of course, not even intermediate conditions, and I'm a bit thrown off by this if I'm being honest, because I did all of my practice running on soft and super soft tires in bone dry conditions, and it is just not pleasant out here. Coming up to the line to finish our first lap, it's a 53.09, which I know is not good enough. I mean, we're sitting P8, but I know it's not good enough, which is why I overfueled this car at this moment so I could go two laps on the same run. So here we go, second lap, middle of the track, this double right-hander, sort of gaining time and losing time a bit, but coming up to the end of the lap here, we gained about 0.8 of a second, which is gonna massively help our cause here. Coming up to the line, it's a 52.3. We're sitting P10, and I still know it is not good enough because look at that, we're only faster than what, Stoffel Van Dorn, a couple of the Saubers, so it's really, yeah, that's not gonna be good enough. We have to go out a third time in Q1, so yeah, I don't know how this is gonna go. We chuck on a fresher set of full wet tires, so something to hold on to, and I think it's working. It's definitely not time for inters yet, but I've put together a solid lap where it counts. We're sitting P14, but that's about to change because we're about to go 1.2 seconds faster, and that has helped us finish Q1 in P8 dominant. Somehow I've gotten out of Q1 in a full wet weather conditions. Normally I bottle this sort of thing, when it's interchangeable conditions, but yeah, very happy with that. But going on to Q2 here, some sort of cooling issue, and we lost 7 minutes of Q2 there, so bit of a bad start, and we only got 3 minutes of Q2, so we're gonna have to bang in 2 laps at a time, and hopefully we're gonna have good enough to get into the top 10. First lap in the books, it's a bad one, 52.1. It's not gonna help our cause. We're sitting P12. At this rate we're gonna get knocked out, so we're just gonna have to pray and just hope that we're gonna be a bit braver than we have been. I think that's gonna be the key. Into braking zones, into corners. I think we've taken this corner pretty well. We just gained a lot of time there, over a quarter of a second. Coming up to the line, what's it gonna be? 51.4, which just put us P9 for now, but I don't know because there's a minute left. Are we gonna make it? We're still sitting P9, and oh come on, we've just been knocked out. That is so unlucky, but it is what it is. Let's go to the race.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Sebastian Vettel has a clear track ahead of him today. He starts in pole position, and Kimi Raikkonen completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Ricciardo, Sergio Perez, and Ocon, Sainz, Kvyat, Renault, and Nico Hülkenberg, Grosjean, Hamilton, Felipe Massa, and Bottas, Alonso, Magnussen, Lance Stroll, and Stoffel Van Dorn, Wehrlein, and Marcus Ericsson rounds off the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Here we are then, ready for the start of the race. We're starting P9, 5 red lights, and we're underway for the Malaysian Grand Prix. It's an average start, it's not a good start, it's not a bad start, but thankfully everyone else around us has similar starts, so we're not losing positions, but we're gonna try and gain some into turn 1. We go down the inside of Kvyat, bit of tire contact there. So okay, I think we've got it done, but huge kick of oversteer, somehow keeping it back on the island, and we've squeezed ourselves up into P8. Meanwhile, looking up ahead, Sergio Perez with a double dive bomb on both the Red Bull cars, which is incredible. I don't think he's done yet, because the little Mexican in the Force India, I think he's going for it. He's still keeping it side by side with the Ferrari of Kimi Raikkonen, still going down the inside. He's not giving this up. Sebastian Vettel leads the race, and coming up to the end of sector 1, Perez is still there. This is incredible to see by the Force India, but I think it's gonna have to give it up, and he settled down into P3. Meanwhile, a bit of argy-bargy with the Red Bulls behind as well, and I think that is Daniel Ricciardo up into P4 ahead of Max Verstappen. Meanwhile, for us, lap 3 here, we're sitting P8 behind the other Force India of Esteban Ocon, trying to catch up to him, make up as many places as possible. Looks like it's going to be a full wet race, intermediates, but it's going to be rainy fully throughout the race. On lap 4 here, coming into turn 1, behind Ocon is gone. What's happened there? There's a bit of an explosion. Looks like he's punctured, and we're gonna skate across and try and avoid any sort of contact there, but we're gonna have to go back and see what's happened there. This is Ocon coming into turn 1. He's going around mid corner, and he's just gone. The left rear has just gone, propping his car up in the air. It's all sorts of madness going around here. Somehow we escape without any incident, and poor Kvyat there has been blocked, and what is he doing? I think Ocon is trying to bring this back into the pits. He's got a long way to go to do it. He's come to the end somehow, and he spun it at the pit entrance, and he's reversing it now. This is madness. What's going on here? I think he's going to reverse into the pits. I mean, fair play for commitment and determination. I think he's going to do it as well. He's not gonna finish this race DNFing, but I don't know what the point is, because he's gonna be a lap down. But anyway, fair play on him. We are up to P7, catching Carlos Sainz, 1.5 seconds behind the Spanish driver in the Toro Rosso. Meanwhile, behind us, the other Toro Rosso driver, Daniel Kvyat, is being overtaken by Lewis Hamilton, who don't forget, big story this race, that Hamilton and Bottas, both the Mercedes cars, started behind us in I think 11 and 12 because they had engine penalties. So there you go, they're going to be coming up through the grid. On lap 9, our tires are going 46 and 42 on the rears, and I think Lewis Hamilton's catching up to us, but not any longer because he's going into the pits. As for us, what we're going to do is just copy whatever Carlos Sainz is doing, because he's our main target this race. I mean, he's doing well in P6, and we'd like to get ahead of him. So this is us coming in for our first pit stop, just reacting to whatever Carlos is doing, going on to our second set of intermediate tires, and looks like it's a double stack, which is a bit unfortunate for Nico there, the timing of everything. But we're gonna come out behind Sainz as well. I think he's had a better slightly better pit stop, because I think he's got us by about 2 seconds there. Meanwhile, Lewis Hamilton as well, having pit on lap 9, has had the pace, he's had the undercut, and he's undercut both of us, not just me, but he's undercut Carlos Sainz as well. So there you go, we're gonna let him go anyway, so that doesn't bother me as much. But here we go, catching up to Carlos again. I think the split is gonna come up in a second sector split, and it is down to 1.9 seconds. We'd let him go by I think 3.5 seconds or something, and now we've clawed it back in this second stint. So there you go, on lap 18 here, this is the closest we've been to him by far, within 2 car lengths of him, and this is when we have to get him as soon as possible, because there's another pit window coming up very shortly, and I'd hate to come into the pits without having overtaken him. But look at that, That is exactly what we're gonna do, because he's gonna pit now. I was gonna go on for another lap, but then I decided I don't have that confidence in myself to go on. Maybe the overcut won't work and I'm just gonna fall even behind. So I'm just gonna come in, react to what he's done again and try and catch. I've been so close to him on 2 occasions and I had to pit, and again I think I bottled the pit exit as well, because it was down to 1 second or whatever, and now it's up to 2.8 seconds. So we've got to do this with 8 laps to go. We're gonna have to do this all over again. Meanwhile, the second Mercedes car, remember Lewis Hamilton got it done towards the end of the first pit stop stages. He's gotten ahead of us, but Valtteri hasn't been able to do it till now, so it's effectively not been a good race for him, but at least he's got past the second Toro Rosso. And meanwhile, looking up ahead, there's been a change for the lead of the race. Kimi Raikkonen has gotten it done, but in the pit stop stages, which is pretty unfortunate for Vettel, and Sergio Perez is still keeping it in P3. Meanwhile, we have had massive problems here, because look at my dash counter. We've lost 4th gear. We're shifting up from 3rd up to 5th, and we're downshifting from 5th back into 3rd. So this is the worst thing that could happen at this moment, because I was fully flustered by this. And 3rd gear was 4th gear was a much needed gear. I'm not gonna lie, it's not like it didn't affect me, it affected me a lot. And suddenly I was sliding all over the place, and catching up to Sainz was a big ordeal, which was not gonna happen. It was just not destined to happen this race. But what are you gonna do? Just literally just struggling to keep the car on track at this point. And if that wasn't enough, Bottas is on the back of us. Bottas smells blood. He knows what's happened to me. He knows I've lost 4th gear, and this is worrying me. At the end of the race here, he's almost got me. But have a look at this. We're gonna brake slightly bit earlier into this double right-hander and have it, Valtteri. That's the sweetest undercut. What do you call it? Switchback? I think that's switchback is what you call it. But I think we're gonna hold on somehow. Kimi Raikkonen is gonna come through and win another race. He has been emphatic. This guy, he started off the season pretty poorly, but now he's racking up the race wins against his teammate. But for P2, it's pretty close. I don't know what Vettel has done. I think he's had his issues, because look, even on that exit is doing all sorts of madness, but somehow he's gonna come through and take P2, and Sergio Perez takes P3 as well. But look at that train behind them. Somehow he's gotten that done. And as for us, we're gonna defend pretty easily into this last corner. Valtteri tried everything he could, but somehow with all these gearbox problems we had, we're gonna come across the line, and it's gonna be P8 for the Malaysian Grand Prix. Not the best race, very irritating with Sainz and the problem at the end, but whatever, solid result.
Great effort there from Ferrari to take the victory today. So, how exactly did they set themselves apart from the pack today?
Rain always has the potential to liven up a race and mix up the order, and they've taken full advantage of that to claim the victory today. It's always a bit of a lottery when the conditions are like this, but they've managed to stay on circuit and have come out on top.
And as we can see, it's time for the podium, and as the drivers make their way out, there's a familiar red suit making its way to the top step. Fantastic win for Ferrari.
And there you go, P8 at the Malaysian Grand Prix. Rained throughout the weekend, And as I said in the race commentary, that was probably the most frustrating race I've had to do all season. Constantly catching signs, but having to pit and then losing all of that and then having to do it again. That happened twice. And the third time I had gearbox problems, having lost fourth gear. And then I was just glad to keep Bottas behind and just make it to the end. But there you go, P8 in the points and Hülkenberg wasn't. So mixed race, but I'll take it. Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka next weekend, so look out for that. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for more and I will see you later. Jan Barpay.